time. We'll start with Steve. When was the last time there was a quarterback competition this wide open?
Well, Joe Burrow and Dwayne Haskins in 2018, I guess. They came out of the spring, and Meyer would not commit to Burrow that he was going to be the starting quarterback, I guess, and that was all he needed to know to say, okay, I'm graduating, going on to LSU, and made history there in 18.
Not to cut you off, Steve, but of course, Dwayne Haskins came in against Michigan and threw one of the best passes you're going to see in a clutch situation down by 6 in the third quarter. So we saw Dwayne Haskins, but in terms of
hard to go away from him,
guys like we don't know what they can do. We just know that they're supposed to be really good.
Yeah, in the last 20 years, maybe Justin Zwick and Troy Smith, and how Tressel tried to juggle that, 4 and 05, and before finally committing full throttle to Troy Smith in the middle of the 2004 season. I don't know. It's been rare that Ohio State's had a battle like this, and I'm sure Ryan Day is going to be dogged by questions on it. I'm sure he's not going to answer it until maybe the Monday before I guess it would be the Friday before the Thursday game at Minnesota to open the season. If even then he decides to address it, maybe he just, like what he did with Rod Gerald and Art Schlichter, pull them both aside and shove them both in. You're like, whoa, what is that? So I don't know, but I do believe the two freshmen this year have the upper hand on the court because they've been through at least a full fall season rotation. They didn't even get much of a spring last year, so how much of an advantage it is, I don't know, but they've had a season in the system at least, whereas McCord is starting from scratch upon his arrival. I think the freshmen are due to arrive on Saturday, and Ohio State for the first 2 weeks of the semester did online classes only, and now on Monday there will be a mixture of in-person and online classes, I think, for the rest of this semester. So I think it made sense to hold off on bringing people to campus until absolutely necessary. And I think guys will be moving in this weekend. The freshmen, I would assume the upperclassmen, got to go home after the national championship game. If you weren't from Central Ohio, you could probably go home to wherever you were from and conduct your online classes from there. And I assume the winter program will either start this week, this Monday, or in the days ahead. With Mickey Marotti and Coach Day talked about how the guys needed some time to recharge their batteries and see their families and these kind of things. But it's going to be right back to the grind, before they know it.
So, Tony, something tells me that Ryan Day is going to show a little bit more wisdom than John Cooper. I'll spit it out here at some point. John Cooper, that would be circa 1996-97 with Jermaine and Jackson with these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think so. There's no sense in putting anybody ahead of anybody else in this until the availability report usually comes out on the Friday before the game. I wouldn't be surprised if the availability report next year comes out on the Friday after the Thursday game. And that's how you know where you stand. There's no reason to encourage somebody to leave, and I don't think Kyle McCord would anyway. Regardless, I think he's coming in to win the starting job, but he's not just going to leave if somebody else wins it. But you don't want to. There's no reason to start making declarations right now about who is where. And I'm thinking back to you asking past quarterback battles. And the 2018, I don't think there's almost nothing Joe Burrow could do to prove himself more than Dwayne Haskins did in Michigan in 2017. So that was a hard one for him to win. Just like there was nothing JT Barrett could do in 2015 to prove that he could win a national championship in camp like Cardale Jones won in the previous winter, and that's why Cardale Jones was the starter, even though JT always moved the ball better. But they had that – Urban Meyer had that proof that Cardale can win a national championship. Then you go back before that to, Zwick and Troy Smith, where I don't know how much of a fair shake Troy got in that one. And so this is completely this is almost like starting over, starting a new offense with these guys. And I'm interested to I almost said I'm interested to see it. We're not going to see it. I'm interested to hear about it, but we're really not going to hear much about it other than everybody looks good. So I honestly don't know what we're going to get out of it this spring, Mark. I hate to burst the bubble here, but maybe we can beg and plead like, hey, can you guys just practice in the shoe for us? That way we can sit up in C deck and just watch, and we'll wear our masks. We'll do whatever, hazmat suits if you want. It would just be like nice to have our own information based on what we see. And of course, whenever we go to a practice, the quarterbacks are always as far away as possible on all of these practice fields, but still, we would know to bring binoculars, although they may be confiscated.
Yeah, just back to the Haskins and Burrows situation. I had sources indicate to me that it wasn't really a competition at that point. They'd already kind of told some people that barring all hell breaking loose, it was going to be Dwayne Haskins, just based on what he had done at the Michigan game and everything else. And it was just too smooth, the transition out that Burrow was able to make. So I'm going to ride with what my sources said on that. And then to kind of get with what Tony has said, and Steve to a degree as well, we don't get to see these guys practice. We might get an opportunity. They might send us 4 plays on like a clip reel or something like that, to where they all throw the same identical pass. We just see their motion, and we don't see if it's completed or anything of that nature. So, I mean, it's going to be a long 7+ months handicapping a quarterback position, where if we don't have a spring game and we don't have some things of that nature, we've not seen any of them throw a collegiate pass. I mean, obviously it's impossible for McCord as an incoming freshman, and then we've only seen Miller and Stroud as a runner. So, we can sit there and we can break down what they've done in terms of high school tape and things of that nature, but it doesn't necessarily translate well. And yes, Stroud and Miller are going to have a little bit of a leg up being in the system for a year, but Ryan Day has also showed that today is the most important thing. And if the way that we saw Justin Fields go well into a fourth quarter leads me to believe that the backup quarterbacks were seeing 10% of the snaps maybe in practice with the ones. So I don't know. I mean, maybe outside of just knowing the playbook to a certain extent and knowing the wording of plays and things of that nature, I don't think it's an insurmountable lead that either of the guys that were here last year have over Kyle McCord.
That being said, Mark, my over-under for touchdown passes for C.J. Stroud next year is 35.5. So feel free to place your wagers.
It's going to be a bit difficult for him to reach that number in garbage time, so I think I know where you're leaning.